That's how I'm linked to this organization. I'm Q's younger brother. He's my older brother. He kind of dragged me into this industry. You know, sometimes purpose comes and slaps you in the face.
Yeah.
When you're not even looking for it, it's kind of one of those. You stumble into it. Hey, yo, come this side. And then they dip you in there and you're like, you can't get it off you.
Cook Your Soul stems from our upbringing as brothers. We grew up at the farm. We were sent to the farms every school holidays. You know, you'll move from the suburb and be sent to the farm and spend all your holidays at the farm. And that is where we started falling in love with certain aspects of our food.
In Josie and things are going up and down, and you think to yourself, how do I make money? You know, and I remember actually asking myself that question,
Sure.
You know, I dropped out of school, you know, because I was trying to do IT. I didn't like the thing. I was like, this thing is not working. I'm going to leave this thing alone. Because it wasn't making sense in my head to do something that your heart is not connected to. But I didn't understand it at the time. I was just experiencing it, you know. So out of necessity, things like, what do I do now? How do I keep myself in Joburg before I find a job where Eric and them were?
Restaurants are getting away with murder right now in terms of how they're paying people. That they pay. I've been seeing a few pay slips recently on Twitter, you know, of certain restaurants. And literally, it's sad when you see a guy that he's taking home 1,400 rand.
Per month.
A month.
In 2025.
At the end of 30 days.
Pushed you out of your comfort zone. And in a way now, I'm not judging you for the manner in which you reacted to it. Because in the beginning, to me, it sounded like you were spoiled. Zanzi, welcome again to another episode of Cooking Soul. First of all, I want to sincerely thank you for the way in which you've interacted with this podcast. I'm grateful for the feedback that I keep receiving from people that I talk to, people who've engaged with the podcast, people who've watched the episode. It's very encouraging to see that you are able to spend an hour with us and listen to the things that we bring to your attention. It's important to us that we bring these subject matters to your attention because these are things that we go through, things that we think about, things that we talk about when we're sitting in our homes, when we're with our friends, when we're with family, when we're with colleagues. This space is very sacred and important to us because we're able to bring these things to your attention so that you can think more about them. Not only that, though, but so that you can maybe start a process of confronting them and dealing with them and coming with solutions for them. For instance, in the first episode, we brought a lot of things to your attention that were areas that we thought were necessary for us to become provocative in terms of thinking when it comes to them. If we're talking about border controls, if we're talking about immigration regulations, we're talking about import, export, municipality, all of these things. If we're talking about food poisonings, if we're talking about the hospitality industry, the role of government, the role of corporate, all of these things. We're bringing these things to your attention because these are things that affect us, that affect you, that affect everybody. So now we don't just want to diagnose the issues because these are things that I'm sure that you're well aware of yourself, things that you go through on a daily basis as well, things that you talk to other people about. But we need solutions now. We need to come up with solutions that can be packaged, that can be applied, that can become relevant to situations and really solve people's problems so that there can be a progress, some form of progress happening. So sit back, relax, spend another hour with us as we sit down, and this time as we look more into the solutioning of all the things that we're bringing to your attention. Okay, having said that, I want to now start welcoming our hosts when it comes to the hospitality industry. On the right of me, I have the gentleman that I had on the podcast last time. I have MBUSO MLAGISI, and I have his brother, NQOBANI MLAGISI. Gentlemen, let's just dive right into it. Let's start again. I think the best direction for us to take this forward is to just take a step back, sit down, relax, and just get to know each other a little better. Because after we've spent an hour together the last time and we spoke on a lot of things, I think it's time for us to take a step back, relax, just rewind and say, but wait a minute, who are these people? What are they on about? So let's start with you, sir. Who is MBUSO MLAGISI again?
Thank you so much, Eric. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah.
yo, who are you? Hey, and exactly that's the question.
Why?
If you're watching anyone, you'll be like, and you are. So I guess that's my moment to answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm a part of an organization called Cooking Soul. That's what brings me and my brother together, actually. I think that is a strong part of that identity, especially when you look at the platform that we're on. And MBUSO MLAGISI is also professionally a guy that helps businesses, to achieve their strategic objectives through leveraging their culture as a driver. And I've been doing that for over 13 years. So when you look at the marriage, there's a marriage between these things. On the one hand, an entrepreneurial venture in Cooking Soul. I mean, we'll get to what is Cooking Soul, what's the product. But there's an overlap there that for me, it's an intertwined identity when you say, who's MBUSO? MBUSO is a guy that really loves to help businesses succeed. And on the other hand, he's also a guy trying to make a business succeed. Right. And going through the struggles of actually trying to make a business succeed. So it's those interesting ironies. So it's about embracing the gap, and leaning into that gap. And through this process of podcasting, coming here and like trying to start a conversation and build an audience and, catalyze movements and change. You have this moment that we call this podcast where we can conversate about this stuff. So that's how I'm linked to this organization. I'm Q's younger brother. He's my older brother. He kind of dragged me into this industry. Sometimes purpose comes and slaps you in the face.
Yeah.
When you're not even looking for it, it's kind of one of those. You stumble into it. Hey, yo, come this side. And then they dip you in there and you're like, you can't get it off you. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what puts me here.
Yeah.
So, Q.
So
I don't know, who are you, man?
No, man. I'm glad. I'm actually happy that I've managed to drag you into a lot of things in life, especially this. So I'm currently professionally, I'm a lead stakeholder construction facilitator for Bobby Roy. So I deal with a lot of, community SMMEs that want to participate on our construction projects. So, literally this career boomed during lockdown, the worst times ever when, the food distribution warehouses were being vandalized and looted, and opportunity came at that time. So, and we've done absolutely well in terms of bringing communities together for one solid project and vision that benefits them at the end. So that is the space that I'm in at the moment. And also simultaneously, I am a health and safety practitioner. So I'm in the health and safety space, and some SOEs have been my clients before. And also within the banking industry, do have a solid client there doing health and safety. So the health and safety world, it's all about compliance and people as well. And also when it comes to the lead construction facilitation industry, it's all about people also. So I'm totally a people person, and I thrive around communities. I thrive around, a collective of people that have got a solid vision and they want to achieve something within a specific time. So I'm totally balanced in that fashion. I've got my hands in, just different industries, and that is what's making me the person that I am today.
Got it.
Yeah.
So ingena be Cooking Soul now. Who is Cooking Soul?
So in Cooking Soul, it's literally me and MBUSO together with a vision of changing the narrative of our food industry in terms of how it's packaged. And also, Cooking Soul stems from our upbringing as brothers. We grew up at the farm. We were sent to the farms every school holidays. You'll move from the suburb and be sent to the farm and spend all your holidays at the farm. And that is where we started falling in love with certain aspects of our food. The way that our grandma would, hang huge pieces of meat in the kitchen after a slaughter. Little did we know that she's preserving that meat. Little did we know that is what we're calling biltong today. So Cooking Soul's roots started off at the farm.
Okay.
And then as brothers before even the company was registered, formulated. And then came along an advert in 2012 with Justin Bonello, literally advertising and telling us about, that he's got this lovely trip over, was it 8,000 kilometers or so?
Oh, you're talking about close to 58,000.
58,000 kilometers. So all across the South African landscape, So when that came, I just found it as a good opportunity for me and my brother to participate in, because what he was talking about there and the challenges that we're going to face, it took us back to the farm, the way that we were raised, the things that we saw there. So we felt like we had a fair chance to participate in that. But also more importantly, it was an opportunity for me and him to build our bond as brothers, because we had grown apart. And also I remember our relationship was quite strained at that moment.
Why?
Well, I could say personalities. As brothers, when you grow within a family, you start to have different personalities, and those personalities, they do clash.
How old are you guys
at some point?
More or less.
I'm 45.
No, at this time you're talking about.
Oh, at that time, Jesus, man, I think 32, 33.
So in your 30s, you're in your 30s, your relationship is somewhat estranged. Talk to us about that. Why is that? Is it because perhaps you've gone on and you've chased a lifestyle and a career and a future, and then there was a negation of the personal side of the relationship? What was it? Is it growing apart? Is it finding yourselves?
I think growing apart was part of it, because in our schooling, I remember in our childhood, we went to the same school in primary. Then after that, when high school happened, he went to St. Barnabas. I was in a totally different school, Mabato High School. So then that gap started there. Then university happened. He's got his own personality developing. My own personality is developing. He's got his group of friends. I got my group of friends.
That's exactly how it was. Yeah?
Yes. And then naturally after that, when you finish college or varsity, it's now the work life. Then what happened to me, I secured work in England at the Thistle Hotel when I was still doing my third year, just finishing up, and already secured a job for next year, February. So when I finished my exam, I went home for like a month. Then after that, boom, I'm on a flight and I'm gone.
Europe.
Gone. So that's time to sort of sit down and reconnect and say, hey, I've finished this phase of my life, and also reconnect with my brother to say, what do we do, or maybe celebrate the next phase of life? It didn't happen. I literally just went, and then the distance continued. And little did I know that my brother at that time was going through a very hard time. He went through ups and downs with his friends, this side, and I didn't know, So when I came back, it also pissed me off that, why did you not reach out to me, Silently, internally, it was like there's certain things that touched me emotionally. Say, hey, my brother went through this, and I was there, But he was finding his space in terms of career, and also what motivated me when I was in England was that I saw pictures of him wearing an apron, So there he was now in the restaurant space.
Okay. Okay.
He was doing waitressing work, and I also remember him telling me that yes. He worked at Oskido's bar at some point. So seeing him, loving the industry, that I was deep into that side, and he's doing this back home, and knowing that he's got options.
It's telling, eh? There's something telling about that, because you leave and you go to Europe pursuing your career, and you studied for cooking and for hospitality and all of these things, and you are estranged and you are not together. And in your absence, in a way, he kind of manifests and emulates something that you brought, about into your dynamic together. So there's something curious about that. What was that all about? Was that a reaching out kind of thing, or was it a even though you're not in my space and in my vicinity, I'm connecting with you somehow? What was that all about? It makes me curious.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, we never spoke about that.
yeah.
Actually.
I'm gonna say something my wife totally hates hearing me say, you know? So yeah, I'm married. Let's put that on the table and reframe.
Yes, of course. There.
So now that we're in lane, I would say it's not that deep. For me, all of these things were happening out of a necessity.
Right.
I mean, Josie, and things are going up and down, and you think to yourself, how do I make money? You know, and I remember actually asking myself that question, ish.
Sure.
You know, I dropped out of school, you know, because I was trying to do IT. I didn't like the thing. I was like, ish, this thing is not working. I'm going to leave this thing alone. Because it wasn't making sense in my head to do something that your heart is not connected to. But I didn't understand it at the time. I was just experiencing it, you know? So out of necessity, things like, what do I do now? How do I keep myself in Joburg before I find a job where Eric and them were in the insurance industry, these brand new students going into call centers and feeling like they're making big change.
Buying houses, yeah.
So it was a necessity to facilitate that bridge from dropping out of school and then trying to find your space sort of in the world of work somehow. So restaurants, it clicked. I was like, ding. I'm like, how do I make money today? That was my problem. I'm not going to wait for a paycheck. I thought, being a waiter is exactly
They'll
that.
pay me tonight.
They're going to pay me tonight.
If I come put tomorrow, they'll
The money in the bit in that little bill folder and say, that's for you. And I'm like, thank you. And that's how quick it happens. You know, couple of days training, takes about a week or so to get into the groove of things because I worked for a great restaurant at the time. And then it made sense and I actually loved it. I was like, this is why am I loving this thing so much? You know? And I think that's how things kind of ended up working out. And then you start to be aware. There's also places like nightclubs and those types of scenes and venues. And that's where entertainment started to link.
Because that's how we got into the event space as well.
Got drawn to music and it's all like happening in hustle mode. It's not like it's like, oh, and then there's that space. And then there's this space.
And you started doing proposals. Remember when you did a proposal for DJ Tira, you're saying, hey, man, this guy wants a proposal.
Oh, yeah. At the time, exactly. I was working with a guy that was an actor and Tato Mulamu. Not just an actor, a visionary. A guy that likes to really take on projects and tackle beasts of projects. And at the time, he pulled me in, to these creative spaces where we want to, make things happen. Which kind of links to this whole cooking soul scenario, because at the end of the day, you think, what is happening here? You got an organization called Cooking Soul. There's something that you feel and sense within yourself that you can make an impact through this vehicle, but you're on a journey of truly defining it acutely and chasing it down so it can truly manifest into something that
I think I want us to go into that. So I think it's crystallizing a little bit when I'm getting now the background, because I didn't know this background well.
Yes.
Right? And it's an interesting background. And I think I want to touch on the human element of it.
Yeah.
Because everybody watching here probably has a sibling. And there are dynamics in our relationships. One of the other people that gave me feedback when they watched the first episode, they said they were shocked that you were the younger brother and that you were the older brother, because it appeared to them when they watched the podcast that you perhaps would have been the older brother.
So I'm aging quicker, oh my word.
In terms of, not just in terms of aesthetics as well, but I suppose in terms of projection and mindset and all of those.
The younger brothers eat more food than the firstborns anyway. You buy something, they finish half the loaf, and you're like, what the hell?
Well, you went there in the first place. You were in Europe, so you had to eat all the food in the house, even your own share. But if we take the conversation forward, let's fast forward now. You come back from Europe, right? And what happens?
So when I came back, naturally, I wanted to be in the industry, because that side, literally after 6 months, I started off as a kwami chef. That means like literally you are the junior in the kitchen and everybody uses you in every section, right? Okay. But once you show, a specific skill set towards something, maybe the hot kitchen, the cold kitchen, the desserts, you eventually specialize in that, right? So I became a chef de partie. I was doing starters and mains. Then naturally, the opportunity happened where I became head chef, right? So when I came back, after a good 5 to 6 years, because I slightly overstayed as well, You know, that thing was in me. I applied and I used an agency. The feedback that I got was, unfortunately, you do not have 10 years South African experience. So I do not qualify for a job as a sous chef, right, at that time. So to me, that pissed me off aggressively so. Thinking that I studied here, I did the practicals here, at Voda Worlds, Miss SA, all that stuff, all those functions, did them, cooked for Nelson Mandela, went abroad, came back, and this is what I'm being told, that I do not have 10 years South African experience. So naturally what happened is I told myself that I will not allow the situation in South Africa to make me hate something that I love so much. So then I decided that I'm going to protect what I love, but not participating in that toxic industry situation at that time. So naturally, I left. Then I joined you guys, you know, at Dow Direct. You know, I entered the financial industry, you know, at the call center, insurance and all that stuff.
So that's the backdrop of you entering the insurance world.
Yes.
You are aggrieved because of coming back from Europe.
Yes.
Obviously, coming back from an environment where perhaps things are done differently and perhaps even more efficiently in your view, and you come back to South Africa, and South Africa in a way boxes you into some red tape, bureaucratic, non-progressive in your mind manner of how they are tackling this thing, and it aggravates you.
Aggravated me because also at the Southern Sun, Senton Hotel, the head chef was German, right? Head chef was German, and at that time, a lot of head chefs in our big prominent hotels, the senior chefs, they were European. So I guess at that time, the industry.
Do you think that mattered? Because I'm trying to get your argument in terms of what aggravated you.
It's the fact that I couldn't participate in a space where I felt like this is my home. You know, this is my home. This is where I am from. So I should be able to be welcomed properly and be positioned, efficiently, and not be dragged all the way down to a flipping junior level.
Is this because you are fully accredited and you've paid your dues?
Yes.
Are you part of the South African Chefs Association at this time? So you're fully accredited. You've got your practicals. You've got your qualifications. You've gone to Europe. You've got your hours.
Yes.
You've got your experience. You've got your portfolio. And is it a matter of you now coming back to South Africa and finding this block? Are you finding this block and this bureaucratic block that's maybe coming from a sense of ignorance, or maybe coming from a sense of incompetence, or coming from a sense, I'm trying to get the gist of what's really aggravating. Is it maybe coming from a sense of being out of touch? Because I'm hearing you say, I am South African and I've climbed all the hurdles and I've gone through all the hoops that are required in order for me to be considered for such a thing. So let's not talk about credentials because they are here.
Yes.
Let's talk about experience as well. It is here. It is not only South African, but it is also international. So I've even gone to the European side and became a head chef that side and got a broader perspective on the subject matter of hospitality. And I'm now equipped to do so much more than I would have. And I come back home. I'm trying to get that story. I come back home, I find Uguti.
It's racial politics.
Backwards.
You know? Yeah, it's backwards. It was totally slow in terms of, it's as if the industry couldn't believe that a young black guy can accumulate skill and experience at that time, because this was 2006, 2007, you know? We are fresh from, you know, the 90s as well. So society is coming and gelling into this working machine.
Yeah, so you're like 26, 27.
At that time.
Actually,
exactly.
Already coming back from.
And you know, when you come back that side, you come back light as hell and all that stuff. You actually look
pale.
Yes, you actually look pale.
The planet, yeah.
Yes. So I was looked at as someone who's just too young for a certain position. So this was at the recruitment
They
agency.
thought you had a chip on your shoulder, perhaps? Do you think maybe you presented someone who's entitled, who has a chip on their shoulder, and who's maybe, you get that sense where, I'm asking these questions and interrogating them because I'm thinking even for somebody that's watching who's trying to understand, and trying to get a bigger picture, a more clearer picture of who you are and where you're coming from, because it's also going to tie into what Cooking Soul is going to make me and everybody else understand. What's this Cooking Soul thing? What are you guys on about? What are you doing? Who are you targeting? Why are you doing it? The reason why I'm also framing my questions in this manner, I'm going way back and trying to find out, get the human out of this whole thing, is for me to understand the organic story and purpose behind the entity. And I'm not asking about the entity in terms of its entity nature. I'm asking about the entity now in terms of its personality, its character, and its aspiration.
So when I decided not to participate then, I was saving what is Cooking Soul now. Because I had to save my passion, right? So I saved it. I went into a different industry up until 2012. When Ultimate Braai Master started, the adverts,
okay.
Then that touched and opened up that passion that I had protected, right? Because I could have ended up hating the industry. There's a lot of people that love the industry, but once they get into it, they have a toxic experience. You get into a kitchen with a very hardcore head chef, and it's like you do not like it, and just literally, it's like being in the army. You're part of a brigade. You have to produce food for 100 people. They're coming at 12 o'clock. So you get your marching orders and you do your prep and you deliver the food. So I could have ended up hating the industry if I forced myself into it and I accepted, the lowest positions that they were offering me, which at that time did not make financial sense. What was I going to do with 3,000 Rand a month? And yet I'm clocking in double shifts. What was I going to do with that? And after tasting that European experience, when I balance the two, you're getting 500 pounds a week, that side. Every week I'm getting 500 pounds. You come here, they tell you 3,000 Rand a month.
Okay. Point made. Okay, I get the point. I think you're beginning to sound more like him now. Because he's always on the functional, he's always on the hardcore, he's always on the mechanics. In everything that he does. He always formulates it for it to have an end product in mind. So even when he's crafting the skeleton, you already know what it's supposed to look like and what purpose it's supposed to be serving. So now it brings me to thinking he's back now at this time, and he's probably coming here with that mentality of English, and having been in Europe and having experienced a different kind of governance and a different kind of environment in a different kind of continent that perhaps may have been ahead in certain areas in terms of how they apply certain things. And maybe South Africa, being a younger democracy at the time, is still grappling with its own freedom and liberal status, and is not knowing. We're not knowing what we don't know. What we know is that we're going somewhere. We don't know what we don't know. We actually don't even know what we know. All we know is that we are going forward. And maybe there was that lost in translationness that happened with him when he comes into South Africa. But you've been here the whole time. You are here the whole time. How are you looking at him, bro? How are you looking at him in terms of how he is seeing this thing and how he's behaving and reacting to this thing? What's your reaction to?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, fully local. Local is like homegrown. I had barely been out of many borders at that point in time. The idea of going overseas still hasn't happened now, actually. But, nonetheless, it was interesting that even what agitated him, I can't help but just almost relapse to what he was saying. First, he was speaking about, recruitment processes in industry.
Okay.
That's like specifically. Now you're questioning the merit of the recruitment process. Is ageism playing a role, in me being able to get access to the kind of roles that are suitable for my experience?
Okay.
Because of my age. You are too young to have that experience. We can't put you in that position of authority.
Is that a cultural thing?
So that's like, I'm thinking about his agitators. That's like what do you mean?
In Africa, that could be a...
You want to put me in this role, but my experience is here. Like I should be playing around here, but you are judging me on my age and saying, nah.
Okay.
So maybe fundamentally, and equipment, these are principles at play, is what's going on here. So what are you saying? Head chefs can only be age 35 going up. Is this your perception? That is doing what? Blocking talent. So that's another thing, that whole pipeline. Another question was remuneration. Okay, fine. I see your whole head chef story. But now, money. So that's another question. What are people actually getting paid?
What are they earning? Yeah.
Of industry. And that's a touchy topic because we know the numbers aren't great in theory. But I'm sure if you get the facts, you'd realize that, goodness me, what is the guy that washes the dishes? That guy that pulls down that thing the whole day. And remember, sometimes the restaurant opens at like 9 in the morning and then we're closing like 10. And you have to be there before it opens because you got to set up. Then you got to be there after it closes. This is now a waiter vibe. I can see the strict. Hence we call double shifts. We're doing lunch, then you got a little break, and then we're doing dinner. So we're closing at about 10, then we have to cash up. So we're exiting 10:30, 10:45, type of a scenario. So when you ask yourself, how much does that guy there, that just goes get paid. And as a waiter, you see the ecosystem, by the way, but you're right at you're almost at the nice part of the food chain. You are the guys that get money every day. Okay. You guys don't wait for salaries like us, whereby, I'm on here for like 1,500 as the guy doing the dishes.
Interesting.
And yet you guys have money all the time. It's busy on the weekend. And so you see that whole ecosystem and you have empathy for it. These guys grind. And sometimes those kind of numbers that make you pop your eyes, come to play to say, wow. And that's how much you guys are getting. So we'd actually, care for each other. You would tip the guy washing the dishes when like when it's been busy on a weekend and the place has been pumping, like it's heavy days. The kitchen is slammed. Everyone is on full whack, and you're just doing your thing there. You feel for those guys, bro.
This is very interesting.
And right now, that is what aggravates me the most about this industry we're in, that we love so much. The pay, restaurants are getting away with murder right now in terms of the
how they're paying people.
That they pay. I've been seeing a few pay slips recently on Twitter, of certain restaurants, and literally, it's sad when you see a guy that he's taking home 1,400 rand
per month.
A month.
In 2025.
At the end of 30 days. Whereas in construction where I am right now, guys are walking away with 4,500 a month. General laborers. General.
And the business is coming in and people are buying the product, consuming the food, and they're tipping the waiters. So are you saying the guys who are running the businesses somehow, they are not doing it with a passion for people. They're doing it with a commercial, bottom line, capitalist approach.
If they were true passionate hospitality individuals, ubuntu buyaqala within their restaurants by simply saying, abantu bangisebenzela, these are my workers, so I should pay them fairly because I am pushing the numbers. It's my job to make sure that the restaurant is full. Hence, it's my job to make sure that my waitresses are fed and they can take care of themselves properly, They can't just be there to serve plates and watch everybody celebrating life. What's happening to them inside? You're killing
them. Do you think it's a race thing? Do you think if more black people owned restaurants and they had black staff, it would be an Ubuntu thing?
Nah, it's not a race thing.
It's not a race thing.
Yeah, because sometimes you have really bad black restaurant owners. Actually, they are the worst.
Who do the same thing.
Yes. They
who have that imperialistic outlook that you guys are painting now.
Not racial.
It's not a racial thing.
It's a nasty thing that's happening.
So it's a matter of character.
I would think that it's just sort of those diversity layers. You know what I'm saying? So you do get aggravating behavior that is racially based in its pure form. You are inferior and I am superior, therefore I shall treat you in this manner. And that is still a factor. You cannot run away from, especially in our context, in our country. That is still a factor. However, generally speaking, it's all about organizational culture. Can you see how now this interweaves into, when you're dipping into, this is a multi-skilled generation. If you are just working on one particular area, it's all good and well if it's working for you. But you start to, now we're interweaving our professions. Now you look at, if I put on my human capital cap, and I think about how culture drives execution. And when people talk about how they experience an organization, they're really talking about whether the culture is alive or dead. If the culture is alive, their employee experience will be enriching. Even if you didn't pay too well, they're going to say those were great people to work with.
This year.
I just couldn't afford my life on what you can afford to pay me for that role in your organization.
But I had to move on.
But you are great guys. You respect people, you care, you have empathy, so on and so forth. So it's more on a culture when it comes to how people run their businesses, the ethos around sharing and caring. And how do you not care whether your staff gets home at 11 at night? You do not care.
Jesus,
you know there's no transport. They've knocked off at 11 at night, and you as the manager jump in your car and drive past them.
If you go on the highway, I think from four ways, if you go to a highway, you always see waitresses walking on that highway.
That's industry.
And the dude will tell you, hey, I'm trying to get to Mandibongwe.
And we don't have a big business. No, we're trying to become a business that has massive impact from revenue, from its positioning in society, from what it catalyzes in just moving the industry forward.
It's making more sense now. Making more sense who Cooking Soul is.
But in that sense, it makes you think about who Cooking Soul is in our trading space. One of the spaces we enjoy. Food trading, yeah. You look at when we go in, we do like a gig like DSTV, which we like because it's not just about DSTV. It's about a partnership, It's a partnership. It is about Gene Hardy as well.
Community.
It is about Gene Hardy. It's about a community of vendors. And so I can say her name very pleasantly and very warmly, knowing that she's also an inspirer of people to say, hey, build your brand, get out there and get this thing on its feet. But even in that space, we don't have like massive cash flows. We make sure our staff gets home.
Man, we pay our staff quite well. I mean, it's like...
Period.
Decently.
He will drive this direction. We've got 2 cars on there. Okay, you go in this direction. Okay, no problem. So you take so-and-so. Our little crew of 6. We know we've got enough. Because we look, what time is it? I mean, it's 11, 11:30 at night. You're in Kyalami trying to get to Soweto.
Okay.
We'll drive you home.
It crystallizes.
It's normal. So it's culture, guys. I'm going to do with money. So if some big franchise says, no, it's because of money. I mean, come on, let's call that BS. We jumped in and we drive our stuff home because we are in cars.
But also to concluding in who Cooking Soul is, the main thing within Cooking Soul that we are really, really passionate about is the processing of meat, smoking of meat. We're in love with smoked barbecue meat, slow process, slow cooking, and it gives you a quality of meat that is extremely tender, soft, and the flavor, it is purely authentic. It's like heaven, It's like heaven. It falls apart in your hands, whether it's ribs, whether it's chicken. So that is our speciality, and that's what we offer at DSTV Delicious, So, that platform, once again, thank you to Gene Hardy, because Gene Hardy is one of the main people in the inner city of Johannesburg that is passionate about the food traders, and she's carried us and dragged us along, onto DSTV Delicious. She even opened this beautiful space opposite Lutuli House where we traded in for, was it a couple of years,
Yes.
with other traders as well.
A heritage building.
And guess what? It was a successful joint. We were selling out steaks every Thursday, Friday. Other guys were also, having a good run, selling burgers, muffins, coffees. It was a food hall for the corporate guys in the inner city of Johannesburg. But right now, in its current form, we wouldn't dare go back there because, well, it's dirty everywhere. Johannesburg, it's filthy. You can't sell food as a South African there. But if you're an illegal immigrant, oh, well, what the hell?
Okay.
You know?
Hold on. Before we get there, I want us to carry on with now what the aspirations for Cooking Soul are specifically.
Yes.
Because I think it was important for me to have the background story behind your passion and the gap that you saw in the market based on the experience you had. So I'm happy to hear that when you came back from Europe, what you found in South Africa agitated you and it aggravated you, but it didn't stop there. It then, motivated and inspired and encouraged you to do something about it. What you ended up doing about it is the formation of this business. So obviously that talks to me about the gap that you saw in the market and the change that you wanted to see. You became the facilitator of that change through something that became practical. Now Cooking Soul is a business. So just like that restaurant that pays somebody 1,500 rand and lets them work at 11 at night, to go home and be back at 7 o'clock to prepare for opening at 9 o'clock with that whole inhumane, scenario going on. Cooking Soul now is a business on its own. We're going to look at you the same way we look at any other business and any other entity and any other organization. What is your purpose? What is your aspiration? What is your impact?
So interesting that you asked that, because when I just look at firstly the word Cooking Soul, then I look at that bottom part that says feed your soul. And now if you just take that literally, just say feeding your soul. If you imagine yourself just walking some of our normal streets and look at the people that are available to us on a Friday evening at 8 o'clock, and you say, what are my food options? You can start telling me exactly what comes to your mind. I can already tell you that it's probably the biggest marketing budgets that are in your brain because they've paid for their position in your mind.
Correct.
So it's the usual suspects. You name them. It's going to be McDonald's. If I say, think of a burger, and I say the first thing that comes to mind, if I say Burger King. Or immediately, you only have your options. And it's about those who paid the most to get that position in your brain. And
which is jalapeno.
Exactly. Is it Burger King? Is it McDonald's? Is it Steers? And then you start to think, because the budget gets smaller. If I say Peter, you'll think of Debonairs, and not by any means because they produce the best pizza. And we all know that Debonairs, let's not take it personal. You know where you are positioned in the market. And it's all good and well. However, when you think about that, you start to realize that, where's our identity? I sometimes think to myself, I wish I could go and buy some pap with beef stew and some chakalaka at 9. And to have it as conveniently served to me as that deep fried chicken is flying out the window. And therein lies the gap, but therein lies a litany of challenges. So when you say, where, I would like to see us occupy retail space. I would like to see us visible amongst the other names. So say, no, let's go to Cooking Soul. They're going to feed your soul, real food, at 10 p.m. wholesome. You don't have to be on a quadruple stack, 150 gram burger patties stacked up with a mountain of cheese just dripping. I mean, come on. That all has its space, but there's another space, Where's my spinach at 9 p.m.? Where's that stuff? You know what I'm saying? What are we eating out there? So I wish we could service that. And I say wish because we are not there as a business. So now, as you said, if therein even lies the opportunity, which is what makes a business, become successful. If one of the first things is a strategy and vision, and being clear about what it is it wants to achieve and how it's going to do that. And that's an opportunity here. And I think as the journey unfolds, it's always great to be part of a thing that is real, an authentic story. And people out there don't want to be vulnerable about this stuff. I'm a businessman, but...
Hold on, can I add on to that?
Are things working or not?
In adding on to the aspirations, from my side, what I wish for Cooking Soul is to literally to be able to provide a food platform that embraces our locality. Right?
Okay.
Now, as consumers, when you talk about meat, you'll tell me about beef, you'll tell me about lamb, you'll tell me about chicken.
Sure.
But that is not the African way of life. We got kudu. we've got buffalo, we've got springbok, we've got impala. All these other meats are equally delicious.
Very much.
And do you know who consumes those meats? And they're cheaper, much cheaper. Every year, national parks, they do culling exercises where they need to control the numbers of these kudus and impalas and whatnot.
In the game reserve, yeah.
And the ones that are culled, guess what? They get butchered properly, processed properly, and they are sold to butcheries and whatnot that sell that meat, right? Now, what I love about Afrikaners, Afrikaners in particular,
Correct.
they love game meats. They live on game meats. No wonder why they're butchers, strong and we are left chasing up beef,
Chickens and chief and chicken.
You're an African
I
land.
hear you. No, I will be. You've landed that one. I hear it.
Exactly.
I hear that point. Okay.
So my aspirations is for people to really, really open up and remember that, hey, I'm an African man. And also to remember their food sources, to say, hey, it's not about beef. I've got kudu, I've got impala, I've got...
Now I see the identity,
got,
the importance of the identity in the business. In a way, it's also tying up to your aggravation. When you got back to South Africa, I suppose it was a good aggravation that pushed you out of your comfort zone. And in a way now, I'm not judging you for the manner in which you reacted to it, because in the beginning to me, it sounded like you were spoiled. It sounded like you were entitled. It sounded like you would come back from Europe after having received an opportunity to better yourself, and you come back and you judge us.
Yeah. You actually is the spot on, because
I never answered that question. So what did you think? Local guy trying to make things work. I saw a guy that has the audacity to think he can choose.
Really, you're looking for something, you don't really have much choice here, They tell you this or that.
We get in and then we work with it, right? After that,
Thank you.
we do something with it.
Yeah. Thank you. But it's a beautiful story, and it's a beautiful question, that thing. Because that's how progress works. This guy has been here and he's been inside the whole time.
Yes.
The beauty of that is context. The danger of that is being boxed in and thinking that that's all there is to it. It's waitering. It's being paid every day and it's surviving, And then when you come back from Europe, you've seen a broader perspective of what life is all about.
I've seen efficiency.
And now it gives you this privilege. It gives you this sense of privilege where you've got a higher vantage point and you're speaking English and you're talking from a high and whatnot. Now I see the marriage in Cooking Soul now that comes with that aspirational aspect of it, but also highly functional in that it's recognizing the gaps and it's finding ways in which it can make situations better. Which leads me to my next question then, to say, what would you need immediately now to be able to actualize some of these aspirations in real time, but in a much quicker fashion? What would you be needing right now? You've got DSTV Delicious. You've got social media, which you are using, and you're doing a great job. We now have this podcast, which is shedding light on who Cooking Soul is. And it's also obviously going to filter onto other vendors and other people in the industry, in the country, and possibly the diaspora and such. What would you need currently right now over and above what you have to keep this thing going? And not only that, I like the idea of the cafe, the Cooking Soul cafe, perhaps in the malls, where Nami, last night I was with friends, and it's so funny. We had pap, we had kale, and we had stew, and we had beef.
That place, did you cook it or did you go buy it?
It was first cooked in the house, and then later on we went on and bought it in the restaurant.
Well, with a good night.
I got you, my brother. When you said that, I got it 100%. But what do you need now? What can you be given access to in order to be able to mobilize the movement?
Can I just actually just retract something here? When you become a waiter for survival, I so don't want to dethrone what being a waiter is. What I discovered as a waiter was this is a serious profession. I actually discovered it's quite a serious profession. You can actually work in the industry and make absolutely good money. When I think about how far back it was, we're earning as a waiter, we're sitting between easily 12 to 15,000 rand being a waiter.
Per month.
Per month.
That's a career.
A waiter.
That's a career.
I was going in 5 days, exactly. At the time, when I look at, this is like over 10 years ago, 15 even.
No, that might stretch.
And 12 to 15, so I saw people buy cars on that money. And also, we were short-sighted. Being a waiter, you're not just constricted to South Africa. There's different levels to this thing. There's waitering for some couple thousands of pounds. And then there's waitering for 12 or 15,000 rand. But on that note, what does Cooking Soul need? Ironically, I would probably say what we need, we probably already have.
Okay.
We do have social media platforms. I believe that as much as there are challenges in the country, there's also the things that are enabling. There's an enabling environment.
Right.
So if we just journey down this road with clarity of vision, consistency in our actions, we will manifest whatever it is that we want to manifest out of Cooking Soul. So I'm not going to say we lack, because even that psychological position is not going to work. You cannot start with the problem is
No, I hear you.
That is also then your excuse. No investor also wants to hear that. No customer wants to hear that. So.
I think, yes, the mechanics, cash flow is not easy, things of that nature. But I just think if one continues to find excuses and reasons why not, then you won't find solutions.
Yeah.
So I hope that the story we tell is the one that says we have a dream. And there's a journey that one needs to go on before we can actually share this journey with many hundreds of people through our employ, through manifesting this vision. And so that's hopefully the journey we'll go down in. So strategy, loading.
With me, practically, I need a corner and some containers, right? And some grills and some fires and some tables and chairs.
Yeah.
I need space.
Yeah. Simple.
That's what Cooking Soul needs. I need space, and it has to be, a nice corner joint with, enough parking space. And literally, if I were to talk number, I want to be able to host nicely 50 people. Nothing big, literally just 50 people. Once there's 50 bookings, we're done. But the experience.
How do you feel about joint venturing with other business types, perhaps? Because if you have your corner and you have your containers and you have your chairs and you have your traffic of people coming in, whether they're coming from the office during lunchtime and they grab a butt kale and a stew and they go back to the office, or someone is washing their car and they're coming in, and while their car is being washed, I'm thinking then they can sit down. Or if I'm having a meeting with a client and I want to sit down, discuss a few things, I go to the corner. So how do you feel about joint venturing with other business types that can also make that experience a more comprehensive one? Is that something perhaps that you have in mind?
Very much so. We actually have a document in place with exactly that, even down to the certain figures as well. But I drafted this early last year, when we were talking about, a nice little operation that has got partnerships that make sense, So, a car wash, we love cars. We just did a crazy trip to Cape Town and back right now in an old school Mercedes.
And legend.
We love that, So you can imagine, we've got a passion for cars. You can imagine a Cooking Soul corner joint. It's a car wash, not just any car wash, a car wash where every now and then we have these special events where we'll have a Mercedes classic event, a BMW classic event, a VW classic event, because that car wash, you want to celebrate the mechanics of the motor industry, which you are passionate about as well. But it has to be a place where an ordinary person can come there, get a haircut, get his dry cleaning done, get his sneakers sorted, you are literally ready for Monday, right? You do not have to come to my place and eat. Then after that, you're rushing and say, no, I want to go and get my car washed. Then I need to go get a haircut. Everything gets done there. I'm feeding your soul. This is what we want to do.
It's making a lot of sense, gentlemen.
Yes.
It's making a lot of sense. And the reason why I asked the last question that I did with collaborations with other business types was that as you guys are talking and it's crystallizing in my head and I'm getting a greater sense of what and who Cooking Soul is, I'm realizing it's actually a movement. It's actually a movement that's even greater than the story that you guys have shared today, because it's clearly a movement that encompasses other cooking souls.
Yes, yeah.
You know, and now the subject matter of Cooking Soul is becoming even more broad than actual food. It's becoming ecosystem. It's becoming a Black consciousness, but in a positive sense. Because I think for a long time, when you're listening to Black consciousness content or you're looking at Pan-Africanism, it's still stuck on the traumatic stage of things. It's still stuck on diagnosing a pain of the past. And as much as it is important for us to know where we come from and be aware of how we got to where we are so that we know where we're going and what it's going to take, I'm very much interested in only solutions. I'm only interested in how you're going to carry us forward. Don't diagnose us. We know, where to from now. Siago upi from now. And what have you done? What can you show me that's concrete that you have done as a solutioning to this very challenge that you have seen? And I think the moment we as people see that you've started this Cooking Soul concept in this business, and we see the changes you have made due to the gap that you saw in the market, then we want to partner with that. And I'm doing that with you guys right now as a published author. We're very much interested in Black progress and the likes. I'm also now part of the Cooking Soul experience, and the person who's watching us, who's also interacting with us, is also seeing the broader aspect of the story. So I think there's so much more to be spoken about, but I'm happy to see what the aspirations are for the business and what the vision and the direction for the business is.
And adding on to the aspirations, one important thing is to, because I'm in the construction space right now.
Right.
All right. I'm surrounded by professional teams, credible guys, and these are young people that execute things, crazy warehouses within 7 months. It's done.
Right.
No story about that. The other aspiration is to literally build spaces in every, economically viable mall where traders can formally have stands. But these spaces are not just spaces where you just have a table and whatnot. Really, really beautiful green spaces where traders can come in and they've got their stands. It's formal. You've got you've got your formal retail happening that side. We deserve the same access, because when we, after shopping, it would be so nice to find yourself at that space, where traders are literally having a fair chance to participate in the economy, in the mainstream economy. Because I can tell you now, you would, after buying, your groceries, when those spaces are there and operational, you'd always go there to cool down, relax before you hop onto a taxi, grab your favorite scopo meal, grab your manglena, grab your, chicken feet, grab your authentic South African takeaways. You are able to compete with the KFCs and whatnot. Sometimes we just buy this food because it's conveniently located.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even as you're talking right now, I'm thinking somebody may come and say, but my brother, siyasili scopo at taxi rank, a Josie. But then I'm thinking, you're working in Sandton, you're working somewhere in the north, and you feel like iscopo during lunchtime, and you now perhaps have to drive to Deepside into Alex to go get that so that you can come back again and work in that office. So the convenience aspect is really an important one, and it's coming strongly. That corner, that space, that green space where in my life as a Black person today that is progressive, that is affluent, that is convenient, why can't my preference also become part of that convenience? Why do I have to now drive all the way from
Ngilokishini.
ngihambe ngelokishini okanye ngihambe nge-taxi rank for me to be able to have this experience. So it brings up a bigger conversation to say, are we perhaps not investing properly in our own identity and our own convenience?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. Because, I mean, even in your words, you use the word compete. It's a competition.
Right.
The market is designed the way it's designed. The system is designed the way it's designed. You can't change it overnight. You can lobby for long-term change in areas that are critical where change is required. But currently, yes, we also need to take accountability for, how diligent are we in building businesses that are sustainable, that grow, that are professionally run, you know what I'm saying, and that stick. So that onus we need to take upon ourselves. And by so doing, this is part of the story. As you talk about these communities, that's why you've got platforms where you ventilate issues so that hopefully we touch the right people so that we can start coordinating and having conversations with the right people. We do need those spaces. Johannesburg City has got spaces that might not necessarily even need to be built. They just need to be restructured to say, this is an area where we invite people of this type that have these types of businesses that want to come and vend here. And you have access. It will cost you 750 Rand a month. Here's what we do. We throw away all the trash. We manage the utilities here. And then that is opening up the economy. That is direct impact and touching people in terms of food. So it's not just about how we get there. As we get there, it's about leaving the road available for others to pass even more easily. Yeah. That's really what it's about. So, okay, fine. Let's be vulnerable. Let's tell our story. From broke to great revenue when it comes to business, and say, this is how we did it. Come, let's do it.
And in line with that, I really would like to highlight and celebrate what's happening in Tshwane under this new, lovely, young female mayor. What she's been doing right now at the beginning of 2025, this very same week, she's been cleaning that city. She even had a formal meeting with traders, people that are interested to trade in the city.
Right.
Where she addressed them and spoke about the basic regulations, how you participate, and also the different zones that you can trade in. So they're busy cleaning up and making spaces. She even met some compliance guys. They had their registration papers properly. They're operating exactly where they're supposed to operate without even, littering the environment, the space. So right now, what she's doing with Hem and Mashaba, they're giving Tshwane their true identity back, their true glory back, because every city is enjoyed by tourists simply because they're able to find the actual natives or the locals of that trading in clean spaces. And also it makes your lunch experience as a person working in that city even absolutely more pleasant, because it gets rid of a lot of riffraff, of a lot of people that want to come there and poison us and all that stuff.
Correct. Zanzi, I had fun on this episode. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had fun too. But I also hope you learned a few things, and I hope some things are clear. Feel free to interact with us on this podcast. It's really not just about us. We're really just a conduit of the very same things that you are going through and thinking about and being affected by. So feel free to interact with us on the comment section and talk to us about some of the things we're talking about. In some other areas, you're going to help us. In some other areas, you're going to show us things that we're not aware of. And you're going to help us direct this movement forward in a manner that's relevant to not only ourselves, but to you as a community as well. It is all about you at the end of the day. So thank you for joining us. See you next time.